Sai Ram students, welcome to the fifth session of chapter 11, that is cell structure and microorganisms. So before starting today's session children, let's revise what we had learnt in the last session. So in the last session children, we were discussing about the useful microorganisms, and in that we were discussing about fermentation process, right? So what is fermentation? The chemical process of converting one type of carbon compound into another type of carbon compound by the action of microorganisms is called as fermentation. Now in this fermentation process, heat is generated and carbon dioxide and some gases are released. Now these gases, they cause an increase in the volume, right? So I had given you the example that idli batter, when you keep it for fermenting overnight, what happens the next day when you see it, there is an increase in that idli batter. Similarly for the bread dough also, right? So this fermentation process, it is not only used in this bread dough and idli batter, it is also used for fermenting, for making alcohol from the grains and the fruits, right? Also it is used in the production of lactic acid, citric acid, then your vitamins, antibiotics, etc., right? After that, children, we saw about antibiotics, right? So these, and whenever you go to a doctor, right, so the doctor, he prescribes some capsules or tablets, right, or medicines. So these are nothing but they are antibiotics called as penicillin. So what is the function of these antibiotics? It destroys the microbes which are present in our body, right? And then we whatever disease we have got, it gets cured with the help of these antibiotics, right? So these antibiotics, it can be also given to the animals also, and animal disease can also be cured. But for animals, they cannot take it, they cannot take these tablets and capsules. So that's the reason these antibiotics, they are mixed with the food and it is given to them. So that even the plants also, they get the diseases, and that can be also cured with the help of these antibiotics. Now children, whenever you are having any common cold or headache or body ache, we are not supposed to take any medicine as per our choice. We have to first show to a doctor, and if the doctor prescribes any medicine, only that we have to take, because these medicines, they can be harmful to our body. Then we saw children about the vaccines, right? So why we take vaccines? To protect against any disease, right? The immunity power increases in our body. We get the resistance to fight against that disease. Now this vaccine, it is produced in the laboratory and with the help of these microbes, right? So microbes, these are useful also in the production of tanning of skin, then in the production of ropes and strings from the agave plant. The agave plant, I showed you yesterday in the last session, that it has got a spiny leaves, right? So all these microbes are used in all these processes, right? So after that children, we saw that what is a biogas, right? So farm waste, human urine, feces, wet garbage, all these are collected and it is used in the biogas to form to produce the biogas plant and fertilizers. So this was what we had learnt in yesterday's session. So today we are going to see children about the harmful microorganisms. So now let's see about the harmful microorganisms. The jars of the pickles, jams, etc., if they are kept open for a longer time, a round layer of white scum or black particles may appear to have formed on the surface. So you might have seen children, whenever this pickle jar or this jam, if you keep it open for a longer time outside, so this white scum means a white layer gets collected on the surface, right? So that's why you are supposed to take whatever quantity you require and air tight and keep it tightly closed in a cool place. So otherwise the microorganisms can grow in it and you will have to throw it away. In summer, milk and meat get spoiled quickly. So what happens in summer? The temperature increases, right? So the temperature is suitable for the microorganism to grow. That's the reason the milk and the meat, they get spoiled quickly. So in whenever there is an increase in temperature, what happens? The bacteria, they quickly multiply, right? And this milk, it contains lactose, right? So it can get converted easily into lactic acid by the use with the help of the useful bacteria, and then it may become sour. So that's the reason the milk and the meat, they get spoiled quickly. Fungus grows quickly on moist and stale food. So as I had told you, moist means if it is a wet, little bit wet food. So what happens? And the stale food, right? The food which is kept for 2-3 days. So fungus grows quickly on such types of food. So you are not supposed to eat such type of food, because if you consume this type of food, then you may fall ill, right? So these harmful microorganisms, what they do, if you keep this pickle jar or the jams open for a longer time, they form a layer of white layer is formed, or a black particles you can see on the surface of the jar. And in summer, the milk and the meat, they get spoiled quickly because there is an increase in the temperature, and this temperature is suitable for the microorganisms to grow. So the microorganisms, they can quickly multiply when there is an increase in the temperature. Also the fungus, it grows quickly on the moist and stale food. So you are not supposed to consume such food, otherwise you may fall ill. So now let's see what is food poisoning. These microorganisms, they use foodstuffs for their own nutrition. Some microbes, they release toxic materials, that is enterotoxins, into the food, and such toxins, they spoil the food. So eating such spoiled food can cause loose motions and vomiting. So what is food poisoning? What happens? The microorganisms, they generally grow on the foodstuff because they want some nutrition, right? So that's the reason they grow on the foodstuffs. But some microbes which are there, what they do, they release some toxic materials called as enterotoxins, right, into the food, and then the enterotoxins which are there, they spoil the food, and when you eat or consume this food, what happens? You may get loose motions and vomiting. Eat fresh and properly covered food. Drink boiled water. Hold a handkerchief over your mouth and nose when you cough or sneeze. Don't allow garbage and water to accumulate around your house. So what are the precautions you should take? You should always eat fresh food and the food which is properly covered. Also, you have to always drink boiled water, because by boiling water, what happens? Whatever microorganisms are present in the water, it gets destroyed. Always whenever you are sneezing or you are coughing, you are supposed to use a handkerchief over your mouth, so that the microorganisms does not spread in the air, right? Also, around your house, you are not supposed to accumulate, means you are not supposed to pile up any garbage and water. So what happens? The microorganisms, they will come near that accumulated garbage and water, and then they may spread the diseases. So these are the precautions you should take. Now, pathogens, disease producing microorganisms. So pathogens are nothing but they are the disease producing organisms. So pathogens, they may be present in water bodies contaminated with sewage and dirt from the surroundings. Then in the food left uncovered in unhygienic conditions with house flies sitting on it, etc. So these disease producing microorganisms, they can be present in the water bodies. Water bodies means water which is contaminated with sewage. Sewage means your dirty water, that is your toilet water, bathroom water. Also in the surroundings also dirt is there. So they can get contaminated with it. Also the food which is left uncovered, there the house flies can sit on it, and then they can spread the diseases. So if such contaminated food or water is consumed, we may fall ill with diseases of alimentary canal like amoebiasis, typhoid, cholera, hepatitis, gastro, etc. So if you drink this contaminated water or eat the contaminated food, then obviously we will fall ill. And what all diseases you may get? Alimentary canal. So alimentary canal is nothing from your mouth till the body part where you excrete. Then typhoid, it is a type of a disease which is contaminated by this food or water. Cholera, hepatitis, and gastro. So in hepatitis means it is the inflammation of liver. So the liver, it gets swollen, right? So all these diseases may get because of these microorganisms. So whenever the disease producing microorganisms, they are present in the water bodies which are contaminated with sewage and dirt which is present in the surroundings. Also they are present in the food which is uncovered, right? Or where it is it is not prepared hygienically. They do not use good water for preparing the food, and if it is kept uncovered, then houseflies can sit on it, right? And if we consume such type of food, we may fall ill. And then what all diseases you may get? Amoebiasis, typhoid, cholera, hepatitis, gastro, etc. Now amoebiasis, it is a disease related to the intestine. Now pathogens, they are released in the air when a person having an infection of the respiratory tract sneezes or coughs. So as I told you, you have supposed to cover your mouth when you are sneezing or coughing. Or if you don't cover your mouth, so what happens? Whatever that virus or bacteria which is there in your body, it is released in the air, and a healthy person might get infected with it. And a healthy person may get infected with such pathogens on breathing in the same air and contract diseases like common cold, cough, diphtheria, pneumonia, tuberculosis, etc. So if you have got cold or cough, so what happens? The virus or the bacteria, it gets released in the air, and the same air is taken by the healthy person also. So he may get infected by the bacteria or virus, and then they get the diseases like common cold or cough, diphtheria, pneumonia, tuberculosis, etc. Now tuberculosis means it is excessive cough is there, so it is also known as TB, right? Pneumonia means you have a breathing problem. Okay, next is mosquitoes reproduce in places like heaps of garbage, drains, stagnant water, etc. So wherever there is large quantity of garbage, then drains, that is the pipe or the holes which is there in the ground where the dirty water is flowing. Stagnant water means the water where the water does not flow away, it gets accumulated over there. So such places the mosquitoes, they reproduce, right? So and with that what happens? Microbes that causes diseases like malaria, dengue, elephantiasis, yellow fever, chikungunya, Zika fever, etc. they gain entry into the human body through the bite of a female mosquito. So these are the diseases which are spread because of the mosquito. Your malaria, dengue, elephantiasis, yellow fever, chikungunya. Now Zika fever means it is the name of the virus. The virus name is Zika, so that's why it is named as Zika fever. So all these are spread because of the female mosquito. So that's why it is told that you should not keep garbage, or water should not be stored and kept, because these are the places where the mosquitoes can reproduce, right? So you should avoid all these things. Now this is the figure here, children. This is the disease of the elephantiasis, which is caused because of the mosquito. See the leg, how it has become swollen, right? Next is about the Swachha Abhiyan. Almost 80% of all the diseases occur due to uncleanliness. I hope you all know, right? If there is, you have a proverb, godliness is next to cleanliness, right? So that's the reason you have to keep everywhere clean, right? Because if you are unclean, then the diseases may occur, right? So that's the reason 80% of the disease, it occurs because of the uncleanliness. So you have to keeping our surroundings clean, avoiding litter and disposing garbage properly, avoiding defecation in the open are some easy ways to stop the spread of the disease. So you have to stop the diseases, spreading of the diseases. So how can you do this? You have to always keep your surrounding clean. Avoiding litter means you are not supposed to throw any pieces of paper or any unwanted things on the public places. Disposing garbage properly, that is whatever garbage is there, you have to throw it in a dustbin only, right? So everywhere on the road also, right? At particular places the dustbins are kept, so you are supposed to put the garbage in that only. Avoiding defecation means now in villages wherever there are no toilets, so what do the people do? They go in the open, right? For excretion. So you have to avoid all these ways, and because of this only the spread of diseases can be stopped. Now, Swachha Bharat Abhiyan, it is a national movement started several years ago to increase the awareness about the public hygiene along with the habits of personal hygiene. So, everybody knows, I think, about the Swachha Bharat Abhiyan, right? So, it is a national movement which was started long ago, right? And it is people are kept reminding about it so that you can have good habits with it, right? And you can follow it. So let us participate in this movement by starting a cleanliness drive in our school and neighborhood. So I hope in our school also we had done this Swachha Bharat Abhiyan, right? So like this movements we can start and we can have a cleanliness drive. Generally on 2nd October all these activities are done. Now children, you might have seen that in the rainy season the clothes which are kept for drying, you feel it little bit wet, right? It is not you feel that it is not dried properly, right? Then on the gunny bags you might see a white dots on it. Then on the rubber or on the paper or all the old currency notes you might see a white powdery like thing, right? So on the leather belts, the purses, the wallets, right? What if you are going to store, what do? You nicely polish it and you keep it for storing. So what happens now, sometimes the fungus grows on these products because the gunny bags, the cotton cloths, the paper, rubber, these are what? Plant products. And your wallets, leather belts, purses, these are prepared from leather, so it is an animal product. So what happens in the humid atmosphere, the fungi and some other microorganisms, they grow on these articles and they spoil and damage them. So that's the reason we have to store it properly so that these microorganisms do not grow on it. So with this, children, we finish the chapter 11, that is the cell structure and microorganisms. So now let's recap what we have learnt in today's session. So children, in today's session we saw about the harmful microorganisms. So these harmful microorganisms, they spread the diseases, right? So if you are using a pickle jar or a jam, whichever bottle you are opening, you are supposed to close it tightly and keep it in a safer place so that the microorganisms do not infect it, right? Also we saw that during summer the milk or the meat, it gets spoiled quickly because of the increase in the temperature. The bacteria or the virus, they can quickly multiply. So fungus, it grows on the moist and the stale food, so you are not supposed to consume such food, right? So because there are some microorganisms, what do? for they get their nutrition from the food, but they also release some toxic materials called as enterotoxins, and such toxins, they spoil the food. That's why you are not supposed to eat stale or spoiled food, right? So, and some instructions I had told you, that you are supposed to eat proper fresh and properly covered food, right? You have supposed to drink boiled water. Then uh, also I told you that you are not supposed to throw any garbage. You are supposed to keep your surroundings clean, right? Because the microorganisms, they get a place to reproduce. Then children, we saw about the pathogens, that is the disease producing organisms. So what happens, sometimes the water, it gets contaminated, or the food gets contaminated. So what happens, so they these microorganisms, they may produce diseases like your amoebiasis, then typhoid, cholera, etc. Also, then we saw children about the diseases which are caused because of the mosquitoes, that is your Zika fever, yellow fever, chikungunya, right? Then we saw children about the Swachha Abhiyan. So Swachha Abhiyan, it is a national movement, and to address the about people, to give information to people about the public hygiene, right? So this was what in today's recap. So children, we'll meet in the next session, and we'll start with a new chapter. Till then, goodbye.